I would be talking about generational trauma, generational curses and patterns. And today we're going to work on that also because these self-sabotaging beliefs, the cause of these beliefs could be anything. It could also be that it is there in your DNA. It could be that, maybe your grandparents or maybe your parents actually struggled in their life. They have worked really hard to earn money or for anything. And so that has been passed down in your DNA and you carry that. Maybe you have seen your parents not being emotionally available for you. Maybe they have been out for work and so they were not able to spend that much time for you. So you have always felt lonely and unloved. Maybe you felt unwanted because your parents, your mother felt unwanted, and because her mother felt unwanted, and so on. So we don't know where is it coming from, but yes, we can find out in theta that this could be a generational pattern. If you actually think carefully and you reflect on who your ancestors are, who your, what is your ancestral lineage like, what was their story, you will get an idea about all this that, okay, my parents have oh, my parents came from a war situation. They lost everything there. So that's there in my DNA, losing everything, okay, not having enough money, scarcity mentality. Well, while I talk about generational curses and patterns and ancestral curse, trauma, all of that, intergenerational trauma, it is like there has a lot of study which has been done on this. Uh, what I would like to talk about is that what is the creator's truth about generational curses, generational trauma, and patterns, and how can we resolve this? How can we heal this? How can we do this? So when I asked creator that, okay, what is creator, what's the highest truth about all of this? So what I heard, what the message that came to me was that it is very simple. It may sound very simple, but that is it. A generational curse is nothing but a habit, a behavioral pattern, which has been there in so many generations. So it has been passed down from one generation to another generation, and it could show up in your lives in the form of either maybe disharmony in your family. Okay, it could be constant disagreements and disputes going on. It could be uncontrollable anger, rage, because maybe one of your either of your parents were not able to control their temper, so you don't know how to do that. That's been passed down to you in your it's there in your DNA. So it's a habit. uh, Maybe the feeling of not good enough, and the habit of greed, holding on to things, feeling so insecure. Okay. uh, Rage, abuse of any kind. It could be a physical abuse, verbal abuse, violence at home, aggression. It also shows up in different forms of diseases and illnesses. uh, it could be mental disease, emotional. It could be a pain which you just can't explain that why do I have this pain. Okay, there is no reason behind the pain. Unexplained pain, unexplained headaches, that's also a part of a generational curse and trauma. So different kinds of generational curses and patterns are there. Okay, like black magic, dark magic. This is also a part of generational pattern, a curse. Somewhere in your family line, ancestral lineage, either some family member would have been a part of this black magic, occult science, you can say. Maybe they have participated in that, and some of you might have been a victim of this. There is a word called idolatry. Idolatry is where you do not you are reluctant or you have a resistance to actually worship or focus on the light, on the virtuous thought forms, but you are always focused on some kind of self harm, destruction, negative habits. You would also, notice that the generational curse would be there in your family in form of some addiction, maybe. So people who are addicted to alcohol, to drugs, or addicted to abuse, addicted to pain, so addicted to toxic relationships. All of this is a part of generational curse and pattern. There is also adultery and divorce. So all of this shows up in form of generational curse. Maybe some ancestor of yours started it, but now it's like it's carried forward. It's there in your genes. You name it, codependency, PTSD, uh, even color blindness, So misfortune in form of some illnesses like cancer, all these diseases, this is a sign of ancestral or generational curse. It's there. It's been carried forward in your genes. Codependency is also a big one. Okay, so even disobedience. Now, disobedience, what does that mean? It means like having that mentality of rebel, like, so I'm going to rebel my parents, I'm going to rebel any authority, okay, because I must prove a point. And because somewhere you feel that something is not right, so I must rebel. So, this whole thing of fighting and battling, financial hardships, uh, financial obstacles, struggle, all of this, scarcity, this is all a part of generational curse and trauma. Maybe, somewhere our ancestors were a part of some war and there was a lot of trauma that they saw. And that trauma is the only way of connecting. So that's why people end up in trauma bonding relationships. So only through connecting through trauma and pain. So now these are the different self-sabotaging beliefs which could also be coming from our DNA. That in our DNA, the belief could be, I have taken a vow of poverty. Okay, or an oath or vow of poverty. Now, why would you have on the first hand, why would you have such kind of a vow or oath of poverty? Because somewhere our ancestors, they learn how to survive. And maybe there are some belief systems around humility that, being poor keeps us humble. So now that mindset is also coming from generations. It's an ancestral thing. So to say that ancestral curse and generational patterns are just it's just a habit, it's just a behavior. So there are different ways of, healing these ancestral curses. Yes, through some rituals, through some prayers, through some chantings, different healings are done. Okay. But unless we don't go to the core of the curse can come back. It can keep coming back and back and back. And because it's a generational, in a family, you would be living with your family and seeing three generations in your family, like, your grandparent or your parent, your children. Now, there are already three generations here. So the question is that how aware are we? Even if you are aware by just this thing, oh God, yes, this is an ancestral curse that I am carrying. This is a pattern. This is my habit. And I'm going to be mindful of my thoughts from now. You have done 50% of the job of removing the curse. Okay. Rest we will see today during the group meditation, that using Theta, basically bringing in the energy of creator, of unconditional love, how we can work on resolving, you can say releasing, healing, and completing these different curses. So, before we begin, any questions, Shilpa? If there are any questions, we can ask.
Shweta, this is so intriguing, and this was so unexpected. Like, so much has come up. Like, I can't believe some things. Like, I do want to invite everybody, like there is, I can see people are typing. There are a couple of questions. Please ask us if you have any questions about whatever Shweta just shared. Shweta, just to confirm,
Yeah.
even if you may have, mentioned this, but is, for example, you mentioned disobedience. Is it an ancestral curse every single time? Does it always lead back to our past generation?
Yes, yes. It is coming from your parents. Maybe they have also learned it this way. It's coming from their parents. Maybe not the seventh generation, but somewhere it is definitely coming from your parents.
Mm, yeah. All right. This, if anybody of us is guilty or is like very beating ourselves up, this is so relieving that, we don't have to
Yeah.
blame ourselves. There is help, and this is so long rooted. Thank you for sharing this, Shweta. And
Thank you.
Sunita has asked,
Yeah.
but who creates the curse? How does it become a generational ancestral curse? And she's not sure, does the one who does the curse intend for it to pass down? If so, why? Thanks, Sunita. That's a very interesting question.
Yes, yes. I was waiting for this question to come actually. Because while I was doing my own research work on the generational curses patterns, that uh, where it started from, what is the origin of it? Okay, and why would we actually have this curse in us? So some of the curses definitely have come from a group consciousness. If you look at our ancestral lineage, uh, there are so many ancestral lineages which the lines are intersecting. Okay, the ancestral clan is not just limited to our maternal and paternal, basically the biological family. It also includes the, where you get married, so that family. Okay, if you've adopted, so that family. We also have our gurus and guides. Okay, some people who are connected with our mission on earth. Okay, that is also a part, they are also a part of our ancestral lineage, but that comes later on. Okay, so and plus we have taken so many lifetimes, we keep taking birth, so we have created so much of karma. So exactly, if you look at it ultimately, so what the message that I received was that it is we have one spiritual DNA. So the source is the same. So we come from the same source, carrying a spiritual DNA. And if you look at it broadly, if you classify, there could be just maybe four or five, or at the max seven, uh, you can say the main ancestors, okay, from where all of this was passed, generations were passed. Okay. So the intent, what was the intent behind the curse? Again, that's also important. How these, how it started. Maybe, like for example, struggle. If we take this as one of the pattern, struggle. Okay. The struggle, the intent behind struggle was, original intent was to learn the value of money, the value of hard work, value of time. So you are valuing and you are learning to work hard. Okay, you are avoiding to be lazy. You are learning to work hard. That was the original intent. Okay, but later on it became as the only way to grow. It was just passed on. Now this became like that. No, you can't just earn money easily. You have to work hard. You can't do this, you can't disobey, you can't go. No, 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 our ancestors believed in this much. It's carried forward that way. So whenever any one of the generation tries to break this, okay, initially they have to go through a lot of obstacles in breaking through this pattern. Okay, because that is what there in your DNA, and at your soul level also you believe that nothing comes for free. You have to really toil, you have to really work hard, and then only you can learn that particular virtue. So actually, if you look at it, the original intent was to learn a virtue. Now, when I say this, and what would be the virtue behind why black magic, magic exists? Then what would be the original intent behind that? I asked this question. So the answer that I got was that the original intent was actually focusing on God and light more by combating evil. So so somewhere, everywhere, the original intent was something else. But later on, it became like a dictum. It became like a law. And it became like, no, like a curse. It appears like a curse. Uh, Revenge karma has been a lot. Okay. In those days, there were wars and a lot of, there's riots and wars. They were like enemy clans. Okay, now there was a lot of hatred and revenge when they took births a lifetime, and for lifetime lot of ancestral prejudices were carried forward in the genes. So originally there was peace and harmony, but whenever there was this desire of possessing, controlling, the desire of power, now that led to all of this. So the story started, and then it went on. It never stopped, because each time a generation was fighting and was taking a sort of revenge. So the only way to actually come out of it is realizing, being aware that ultimately what is the highest and best thing to be. Stop the drama, step back, be aware, realize. Okay, you can transcend this without having to go through this fight and struggle. So yes, that is what is, the story which has been there. Somewhere it started with the desire to possess and control and power. I hope this answers your question, Smita. I hope this is of some value.
Tremendous, Shweta. And, I want to ask you if I have understood this correctly, that when we heal this, we actually heal our future generations as well. We like stop whatever has been happening from the past, and
Yeah,
then a new cycle, a positive cycle starts, right?
yeah.
Wonderful, amazing. Thank you so much for sharing this.